Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Langdon. Welcome to Emerge Gallery. And today we're going to take a look at the exhibition that's on display called Golden Desire. It is an exhibition of work by artist Lesley Bodzy and Jay Youngdahl. They are both recent MFA graduates from the School of Art at the Chicago Art Institute. And the work on the walls is some of their last projects. So what I'm going to do is introduce both of the artists, and I'm going to sort of turn it over to them and let them talk about some of their work. We'll take a look at the work in the exhibition. We'll take a look at some of the process, which is pretty exciting. And you'll also have an opportunity to ask any kind of questions if you'd like. We'll have a Q&A period at the end. So just right in the comment section over there, you should see, you'll be able to type in your questions or any kind of comments, and please feel free to comment on any of the work or anything that we say. So let me start by introducing Lesley Bodzy. I've had the pleasure of exhibiting Lesley's work before in the gallery and then also on Artsy. Lesley Bodzy is a painter and sculptor whose larger-than-life gold sculptures are thought-provoking as well as sensuous. She mixes gold paint with tar gel to create draped sculptural works that explore the search for the authentic self. Bodzy seeks to create a unique dialogue with the viewer by focusing on the themes of wrapping and revealing, draping and unveiling, absence and presence. She's a painter and sculptor and lives in New York City and Houston. She's represented by galleries in Saugerties, New York, that's me, Houston, Texas, Williamsburg, Virginia, and Jersey City, New Jersey. Her work was recently shown at the New York City at Chasma and Sculptors Alliance. Her recent exhibitions include Site in Brooklyn, Emerge here in Saugerties, the Mattatuck Museum in Waterbury, Connecticut, and the Susquehanna Art Museum in Harrisburg, PA. The Meadows Gallery in Tyler, Texas, and at Holy Art in London. She has an MA from Mount Holyoke College and studied art at Hunter College and the Art Student League of New York City, and is as I said, a recent MFA graduate from the School of Art at the Chicago Art Institute. Jay Youngdahl works in text, collage, and photography, also finding abstraction in landscape and travel photography that connects us to our human condition. His work in Golden Desire pulls several threads from the multitude of historical references to gold. He shows gold as rebirth and plays off Bodzy's lush work. Creating as a participatory action artist, one week work explores a reference to gold among textile workers during the 20th century, which Jay will be talking about. And let's see, Jay grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the aftermath of the efforts to integrate Central High School. In high school and college, he was drawn into the maelstrom of movements over civil rights in the Vietnam War and has worked as a union and civil rights lawyer in the South since. In middle age, he rejoined academia, earning a MD, the Divinity, and serving as a fellow in ethics and responsible investment at Harvard University. In 2018, he was a visiting scholar at SUNY. Today, he lives in St. Petersburg, Florida. So that is the bio behind both of our artists. And what I'm going to do is, let me show you some of the images from the exhibition. I'll do it that way. All right. So this is the window that we have in the gallery. It's at nighttime. We've got a really gorgeous blow up of a photograph by Jay, and then 2 hanging sculptures and 2 floor sculptures by Lesley. We also have this really gorgeous, here's a aerial view of the exhibit. In the back, we have a large sculpture from Lesley. In the center is the box from Lesley. To the right are a couple pieces by Jay, and also throughout the exhibition, you'll see some photographs from Jay as well. Here's a better look at some of those photographs as they are displayed in the gallery. Okay, now I am going to bring Jay up, and Jay is going to, hold on, Jay, let me find you. Where are you? I gotta bring you up. Okay, great. Hi, Jay, welcome. And Jay is going to talk about his golden Tonka's necklace.
Hi, Robert. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for hosting our show and being such a great guy to work with on this. I appreciate this. The show came together. Lesley and I have been for the last few years MFA students at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Recently graduated last month. And Lesley does these fantastically beautiful, large sculptures, both a painter and a sculptor. And so we started collaborating with using some of my art around hers, and that's really what the show is. So I want to start. One of the things that we do at the School of the Art Institute is start with a poem. And so one of the pieces in the that I put into the show is it's called a piece of concrete poetry. And concrete poetry is simply poetry that is laid out in a way to make some kind of design. And that given that golden necklaces have been for thousands of years of human life and continue to be something that humanity likes, I took the Tonka form of poetry, which is kind of like a lazy person's haiku, I say, and has 5 lines, and made a number of short poems, put them together in this, and I'm just going to read 3 or 4 of the lines. Can our desire escape time and space on Earth? P.J. Harvey sang, is this desire enough to lift us above? In our desire and in our golden moments, many forms arise. Precious metal does not rust, though our desire decays. As you read this, the persuasive technology from Stanford captures us and invents desire. They call it captology. So now what I'd like to do is to turn this over to Lesley. She's going to talk about her work. And then I'll talk a little bit about mine. And then we'll chat back and forth and maybe have time for some questions. Lesley.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I thought I'd talk a little bit about how I made these large gold sculptures first, and then maybe a little bit about what they symbolize, or maybe both at the same time. I was a painter of watercolors and oils. I was doing still lifes and landscapes, and then I moved to acrylic paint gradually, and I really started to like the plasticity of acrylic paint. I thought it was really cool, and I was painting acrylics, and then I got the idea that I could somehow take the paint off the canvas and off the wall. And could acrylic paint become a sculptural material within itself, just the paint? And so I tried different mixtures, and over time, it took me about a year of mixing acrylic paint with different mediums. And I finally found that tar gel creates a plastic type of sculptural material when mixed with paint, and it can be molded and draped. And so I started doing that. And I had made these little sculptures that you saw those on the window that Robert showed. They're like little hanging drapes or little standing drapes, and they're very popular with decorators because you can take them and you can play with them and hang them or drape them. But I decided, what would happen if I made them really, really big? Could they be bigger? I had no idea what I was getting into. What I did is I wanted to make really big pieces of the drapery, like 20 feet by 18 feet. And that took a lot of paint, which I hadn't anticipated. It took about 6 16-ounce containers of paint and 10 gallons of tar gel. And what I did is mixed it up with an electric mixer. And I actually had to hire a young artist in Houston, John Clark, to help me because I really wasn't physically able to do some of the labor that was involved in making these large sheets of paint. But anyway, we put down a large piece of sheeting, plastic sheeting, and taped it to the floor. And then we laid out this paint with trowels and other things to kind of give it dimension. We laid it flat. We let it dry for 2 weeks. And then we took it up from the sheeting. And the first thing that we found was, there's a lot of problems when you make art. You always encounter challenges and problems. You don't know what the materials are going to do. What we found with this material is it got really sticky. It was sticky on both sides. Can you imagine? So it was sticking to itself. So we tried different things. We put powder on it and cornstarch. Those worked, but they were really a mess. So then we started spraying it with adhesive. So it's all been sprayed, hand sprayed with adhesive. And that got rid of the stickiness. Then it was ready to drape over various objects. So I chose some spheres and some cubes, which you see in the show. One is a sphere, one is a cube. And I was able to drape the paint over. That's the cube. So that's a very large sheet of paint that was molded and sculpted into the drapery that you see. Okay, so why? And that's another large sheet that was draped over a sphere to hang. This one hangs from the ceiling. And it's kind of cool. You can actually get inside it. And I don't know why you'd want to, but it's kind of fun. I mean, you can get inside it and kind of flap your arms up and down. So why gold and why covering? Why drapery?
Lesley, you want me to show a quick little video of you working on them?
Oh yeah, those are cute. Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
you want to see that? Yeah, sure. Let's have a look at that. And then this is pouring paint.
This was in the summer. Very hot in Houston, Texas. I don't usually dress like this.
And then this second one is the further process of it.
There we go.
Yeah, so you see it's fun. It's fun to do. It's a little laborious. I like it because you don't know what's going to happen. I did not know what was going to happen, how thick it would be, and
How many layers did you put down on this? Was this multiple layers? Or?
this is actually an early effort. It was done with different kind of medium, not tar gel, and so that's why you see it so thin.
Yeah.
Here I was working with tar gel. You may have some other shots of it with tar gel. I found the tar gel was thick enough to just have one layer.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's very fun to play with these different paints.
It doubles as my husband.
Oh,
Okay, and then we've got one more of draping it. The whole process of draping here.
Where am I going?
Help him straighten that out.
so that's John Clark, the young artist who helped me. We're
All right.
The whole drapery is all finished now. It's been sprayed. It can be manipulated. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, great.
And
All right.
that's tar gel. You see how much thicker it is than that first.
Much thicker, yeah, yeah.
So now what do they symbolize? You know, I like to cover things with these little painted drapes. And I think for me, the idea is that we all present a golden facade to the world. You know, we all have our personalities we present to the world, but what's really beneath it, and what is our authentic selves? What is the search for the authentic self? And so that's why the drapes are gold, because they present the idea of golden personality. I think in my case, golden femininity, to be very feminine, to be pretty. But what is really beneath the surface? And how do we find that authentic self? And so I use this kind of shiny gold veneer that actually is not valuable. It symbolizes worth, and yet the paint itself is very cheap. The gold paint is very cheap. It's not even gold. It's made of mica particles. And historically, gold has been used in art to symbolize worth. They used to use real gold and still people do use real gold in making art, but this is fake gold. And I did it for a reason. One, I couldn't afford real gold, but two, it's talking about sort of the fake veneer that we all present to the world. And I think we live in a time where roles are not as role bound as when I was growing up. People can be themselves a lot more today. They can be different sexualities, come from different backgrounds. Things are more open today. And so people don't have to always show such a shiny veneer. And I think it's a little bit of a feminist message, because I think women, even today, are still encouraged to look very pretty, but what are they really like inside? So that's the symbolism behind my gold drapery. And Jay and I are talking about gold, different ways of looking at gold. What does it mean? And so I guess that's it.
Thanks, Lesley. Jay, we want to move on to some of, well, actually, you know what, let me have a quick little look at, there's a couple photos I want to show of the gallery. This was during the opening. There was a quick little discussion during the opening, a little bit of a presentation. And then the others we saw as well.
Bye for now.
Okay.
I don't like this guy.
All right, Jay. Here we've got.
You're saying we had one person come on and probably needs to go over to the YouTube. So if you could.
Yeah, I had sent the text or the.
So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you listening. As you can see, Lesley makes some really fine pieces and very thoughtful work behind it. And so what I tried to do is to put together some of my works that speak the academic words, to be in conversation with her. And, our two, it's a single theme, but in a way it's two themes, gold and desire. Lesley talked about the meaning of gold, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit when I discuss my art. And then desire. And so desire is an issue that is always played out, obviously, in human history. But today we see it played out in all kinds of different ways. People search for likes on social media. They desire those different, maybe our desires are easier to access now. Maybe they're not, but there are some fun kind of philosophical questions about it. There are certain philosophical trends, especially in continental Europe, that spend a lot of time with desire. So it's very rich in meaning, both of those are, and it means very different things to very different people. So what I tried to do was to pull out gold and desire in some of the areas of my life. Much of my art began from being a writer, both a historical writer and a writer of political essays, and a question of, could I take that writing and the ideas I had and make it into, show them through different kinds of art. And that's what I've tried to do. So the thing I do the most of, and most of in this show, is photography. So Robert, if you can show that. And I love the landscape. I love beauty. I've been a lawyer for much of my life, and so have worked for justice, but I think there's a major relationship between justice and beauty. And so I try to talk about that. But I also think one of the things that I think about in terms of contemporary society is the anxiety that we have, that everything's going to crap. I mean, it's just, everything's awful. So, and having lived many years in California, there are some very serious fires over there, some very serious fires. But last fall, I went up to Idaho and found an area where there had been very serious fires 20 years ago. And I went in September when the aspens were blooming. And so I took this photograph that's one of the larger photographs I have in the show. I have some larger photographs and some smaller photographs. And it just showed to me the rebirth Lesley had mentioned about gold as rebirth, but this is 20 years, and human life is somewhat short. But I'm a little more optimistic about our planet, and this was to me an optimistic photograph, and it just shows what can come back and what will come back. So, and aspens are a wonderful object to play with in art, because a certain aspen grove in southern Colorado is the largest living thing on the planet because of the way aspens grow and are connected to each other. So this is one of the pictures from my show. I also have photos from Acadia National Park, from Utah, and then a number of pictures which show gold just in kind of regular commerce or in life, especially around the East Coast. The other thing I did as part of the show was to put together a conceptual piece. And the conceptual piece, now that's pretty surrealistic right there, that photo. So kind of being squeezed there. And the conceptual piece, which you can see behind Robert there, involves a song from my youth. And I grew up in a household in Arkansas in which my father was a union organizer and my mother was active in the civil rights of the day. And as part of that culture, they would sing songs, and they would sing songs that came out of the issues they were involved in. And there was a song that we sang in my household, which involved textile workers, and the textile workers in the Southeast, just after World War II, had worked for higher wages and better conditions, and been somewhat successful, won some, lost some. So I took the song called "The Mills Were Made of Marble," and blew it up in what you see on the gold on the right. And this song was written by a friend of our family named Joe Glazer, who was kind of labor's troubadour. And I'm going to sing just a few little stanzas from it right here. I dreamed that I had died and gone to my reward, a job in heaven's textile plant on a golden boulevard, where the mill was made of marble, sheens were made out of gold. Nobody ever got tired, nobody ever grew old. I'll skip towards the end. When I woke from this dream about heaven, I wondered if there ever could be a mill down below here on earth just like that, for people like you and like me, where the mill was made of marble, sheens were made out of gold. Nobody ever grew tired, nobody ever grew. So I thought it was fascinating that textile workers in North Carolina, in the United States in 1947, didn't think they're going to be anything but textile workers, but wanted to do that work. They're proud of that work, and they wanted to do it in a place of dignity and respect. And for that, that was a mill made of marble on a golden boulevard. And I combined it with, on the left, as I said, I'm a lawyer for workers in the South. And the first case I ever had was in the early 80s. And it was for some African-American women who worked at a plant in Earl, Arkansas, which is right near Memphis. And they made hangers, clothes hangers. And so I took the case. I was successful. The women had been fired. I was successful in getting back to work. And I blew up several pages of the actual decision, and then attached them to them a hanger and some golden padded hangers like the ones they made in the plant. I find that in our current society, things move so fast, words move so fast, images move so fast, but sometimes when you can blow words up, they really have a power and interest that you don't really otherwise see. And so that's what I tried to do there. So we have in our show, we have some wonderful sculptures, we have some photography, we have a little poetry, and here we have song and the conceptual piece that this is. And what it meant for me is just it's a way to think about at a time when we seem at each other's throats, and maybe there's good reason for that, maybe there's not, but there are these images and ideas and ways of living that are important to us all. And one of those images is gold. And we see gold in all kinds of areas, and obviously desire, we see it. So could we, as part of our show, show a number of ways that these words and this idea manifests itself in ourselves and in our fellow citizens. So I'll turn it back over to Lesley or Robert or comments. There we go.
Lesley, did you want to talk a little bit about how the show sort of came together and how the pieces came together?
Let's see. Okay. Well, Jay and I were in this MFA program at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and we were both thinking about how the work we were doing individually, what it all meant. And we started talking, and we realized we had some synergy. And Jay said to me, we should collaborate. That's what artists do, and we're artists, we've got to collaborate. And I said, okay, well, yeah, maybe. And so then we started looking around for a curator and a gallery that might like our show idea. And I had worked with Robert for about maybe a year or two. I've had a few shows at the gallery and work on Artsy, and he sold some work for me, which I'm very happy about. So I said, well, let's approach Robert. And it's such a great place, a great gallery, and very active during August and September. It's near Woodstock, it's in Saugerties, it's kind of an art center. And Robert said, yeah, I like this idea. So we put it together over about a 6-month period. And Jay wrote some really beautiful things you can see on the website about what the show means, because he's really a brilliant writer. And I don't know, we've really had a great time with the show. We had a great opening weekend. It's a wonderful little show. And you can see it's a compact kind of jewel box of a gallery. And I think the works look really nice. And they're very interesting to see. So if you haven't seen it yet in person, do come up to Saugerties to see it. It's only an hour and a half from Manhattan. And there's many other arts things to see in the town of Saugerties and in Woodstock, Tivoli, the whole area. You stay overnight for 2 nights. It's great. Got Bard College, all kinds of things.
Nice. Yeah.
Robert, if you'd like to show some of the other photographs, I could talk about it if we have time, and if not,
sure. Let's do that. Hold on. Okay. So this is another one of the After the Fire.
Exactly. Okay. So I generally photograph things that I like and I do, and I like the outdoors. So this was another same location up there in Idaho. Here you got the green and the gold and the reflections on the water. And again, that area is coming back, and that's going to happen to California as well, and Oregon, I think. So. This photograph is from Bosque del Apache, which is down in southern New Mexico. It's one of the major flyways for bird migration from the north of Canada down to South America. This was 3 days after Christmas. It was the golden hour, as they say, which is the first hour in the morning. And there was this extraordinary reflection of the cloud, well, first of the sun on the clouds, and then the clouds on the water. And in between were the birds. And you may see up in the upper right, there's some little dots. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, Jay, you had a lot of dirt on your lens. But no, it turns out those are migrating birds. So they're just smaller than the ones on the water.
It's a really gorgeous photograph. It's, one of those ones that I wish I had taken myself, or at least just, witnessed it, because it's.
Yes, witnesses, exactly right. So,
And it's for sale on Artsy. You can actually Robert's Immersion Gallery Artsy site, and you can buy it today.
Yes, all of the work is available for sale. I'm gonna I'll show the Artsy page, and lots of things you can do in interacting with the show through Artsy.
So this is the area I was saying is up in Maine. Any of y'all get the chance to go to Acadia National Park around September and October? It's really amazing. This is kind of like a wetlands there in the park called the Tarn, T-A-R-N. And the one nice thing about this is you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. to catch this, because it's in a little, it's surrounded by some hills. And so the sun doesn't really come over till about 9 a.m. But when it does, you get this reflection onto the water. Obviously, it looks a little like Giverny, not so much because of the photograph, but just because of the space. Not because of the photographer, I guess, but because of the space. So, but it's just an amazing spot.
Yeah, Acadia is one of my favorite places. I love going up there.
Yeah. So this is right before COVID. I was able, and this is a time where you can use the word blessed. I was blessed to be able to take a little cruise on the Nile River in Egypt. And so I went into every one of the tombs that I could. And I realized pretty quickly that when they would put the pharaohs in there, they made it so the pharaoh's body or soul could see the sky. And so the sky would be the top of they're in space. And it had different colors, but these red things here are the stars, and the gold is the sky. And so this was probably from 2000, a little more than 2,000 years ago. These colors are still vibrant. It's really something. But here again, gold was a big issue to the Egyptians, and the pharaohs wanted to make sure that their tombs had as much gold paint in there as possible. So this is one of these. This is an area in southern Colorado, south of Crested Butte, which in early September is a wonderful place to go for the turning of the colors, the aspens. As I mentioned to you, the largest living thing in the world is there. But one thing in photography, you want to lead people into the picture, and so I saw this road here. And then one of the other beautiful things about this area is there are other trees there. There's some maples, and so you get not just the gold, but you get the mix of gold and the other colors there. And the area has both kind of mountain wetlands, and then also obviously the mountains like we see there. So beautiful area.
One of the things that I find really beautiful about this photographer and interesting is that how the road sort of travels up, and then you're lost, but you pick up the whole sense of movement up in here, up into the trees, going all the way up to the peak. That's sort of the way I saw it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. And then I worked in factories when I was young, and I like commerce. I like kind of I'd say the metal and steel of what's behind the scenes. A lot of us don't really realize how things get to us. And how many people are involved in the process. A lot of times when I sit down to eat, if I'm feeling a little spiritual, I will try to think of all the people who've contributed to bringing the food that somehow got to my plate. But it's also the case that this is how our goods come to us. And for many years, I lived next to the Port of Oakland. And most big goods in the world now go by containers. So this is a stack of containers. I doubt that anybody made a decision to put the gold next to the brown, next to the red, but they came out pretty nice. I was outside the fence, they don't let you inside, but I was walking along taking pictures near my house in the port. So this is called Golden Commerce.
They almost look like microchips, like a computer board.
Yes, right. This again is in the town of Oakland, California. A partner and I, Lily, were walking along in late COVID, just trying to, I guess it's not late COVID anymore. We hoped it was late COVID, but it was in September, October of 2020. And one of the nice things that you can do in California, you can't do in a lot of other places, is you can actually have really pretty trees on streets that otherwise seem kind of dingy. And this was a ginkgo tree, and the ginkgo had dropped all its gold leaves. And so Lily posed for me there with her very colorful mask. But it seemed a good metaphor for much of what people felt during the COVID period. There's an area of northern Arizona, just below the Utah line, just north of the Grand Canyon, which are called the Vermillion Cliffs. And they have the most striking sandstone and siltstone I've ever seen. And it's been eroded away. And part of the area you have to get a permit, which are very hard to get, but there's another area that's kind of underserved called Coyote Bluffs. And you can see here that we have a kind of a golden sandstone and then a variety of other movements that make abstraction, both water movements that came through and left different minerals. And so you see the red, obviously, and then in the left half, there's some darker gold. And most of those were inside the sandstone formation that then eroded. But I've got a whole series on my upcoming website on abstraction from this area, but they're amazing. And I like to see art that looks like human-made art that was made by nature, and nature-made art that looks like that's made by human. So this is one example of that. And then finally, I'm like a number of people, I'm a fan of bamboo, and I'm always amazed at how many ways bamboo is used and the different kinds of bamboo. And this was in the jungle, what I call the jungle part of Maui, which is near the Hana Highway for people who've been there. A very large bamboo stalks, but then you can see over to the left there the way they produce new stalks, the green. So you've got life coming out of the gold, which is very much a function of the way Lesley thinks about her work, I think, and the way I think about mine. So thank you there, Robert.
Thank you both, Jay and Lesley. If anyone who's watching has a question they would like to ask, please do so. Join in the conversation. There's a number of people watching on YouTube. Feel free to the right hand side. There is a comment box. Feel free to ask your questions in the comment. Anyone that had joined us on Zoom, feel free to ask your questions in the comments there as well. In the meantime, what I wanted to do is look a little bit at the Artsy site where you can see additional information. The Emerge Gallery has a site on artsy.net, which is a tool for brick and mortar galleries to present their work to the world at large, really. If you go to Emerge Gallery NY, that's at artsy.net, you'll be able to find the Emerge Gallery shop. And right up top, you'll see Golden Desire. So click on that, and that will give you a look at the exhibition itself, some photographs from there. There's also the press kit that is included on that, which will give you some information about the exhibition, about both artists. And then further down, you will see each of the pieces that are included in the exhibition. Everything is available for sale, for purchase. Jay's photographs are either framed or unframed. And yeah, if you respond to either of these artists' work, they have both been in previous shows at Emerge Gallery. So in addition to what we have here as part of Golden Desire, they do have some additional works that that you can have a look at as well and purchase. Lesley had a show still on Artsy through the Emerge Gallery that has a whole collection of some of her abstract work. Some of the wall drapes. And Lesley, I wanted to ask you, some of the wall drapes, were those sort of earlier versions of getting to the point where you are now with the larger?
Yes, and
They
those
are, okay.
were actually not made with tar gel. They were made with different mediums that are more lighter.
Yeah, a lot more flexible. I wanted to, if it's okay, I just wanted to maybe bring in just a few of those to show folks sort of the progression of where you've gone. These are some of the earlier pieces, like this is the wall rag, the wall drapes. You're working with a lot of different colors, not necessarily gold, but this is sort of a similar process, but at an earlier stage, right?
Yes, it's very same process, but they're very small. They're small wall, wall works.
Yes, great. Okay,
One great thing about Lesley's work is it's both conceptual and decorative. So they look great in people's houses, and they have great things to think about it and they speak.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. They have meaning.
I wanted to also just give you a little tour of the gallery so you can see some of the photographs. I mean, Jay has them really beautifully professionally framed. There's a couple of the frame photographs in the gallery. Sorry for the glare. Let's hold on. Sorry, folks. All right, here we go. Okay, great. So they're really beautifully photographed, or framed and photographed as well. We have 4 pieces that are in frames. They're 16 by 20, and then the other photographs are 8 by 10, printed on a high quality photographic paper. I also wanted to bring your attention to some of the smaller sculptures in the window that are Lesley's, and they can be a bit user-friendly. They're meant to be played with. So you can, I don't know, Lesley, you want to talk about these?
Yes, so those are my latest work. I discovered a way to manipulate the paint really big time. So I'm not going to share my secret with you, but
Okay.
I've been struggling for a year or two to figure out how could I make it really playful and really big. So I'm blowing those up. Those go on the wall as well. You could hang them on the wall with magnets.
Yeah.
That Robert showed me how to use magnets so you don't make a hole in it and you don't see how it's hung. And then you take it off the wall and you can mush it or play with it or do whatever you want.
Yeah. The thing that I really like about these, they're so playful. I mean, you can turn them into brand new sculptures every time that you start playing with them.
Yeah, I mean, you could even make it into a little handbag. Someone came into the opening and made it into a little clutch handbag.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Okay, let's see. And then here's Jay's the workers piece, the poem, and then the conceptual piece about what was the name of the company, Jay?
It was called Earl Industries, and it's a fascinating part of America because the plants that were there moved down from New York City.
Yeah.
And moved from the garment district, and so moved down there. And it's also an area where there was history both of kind of left-wing labor activity and very virulent right-wing racism. So there's the history is just being kind of uncovered of that area, but the plant itself is in Arkansas, about 30 miles from Memphis. So if you go, and only 35 miles from Graceland. If you've never been there, I'll put in the picture of Graceland.
And the factory did eventually close. Is that right?
it finally did close. It did, and it moved. Unfortunately, the kind of history of neoliberalism is they started in big American cities, these plants, and then they moved to the South. Then they moved generally to Mexico, and then they generally moved to Asia, which is where they are today. So I have another project that I'm working on now in which compares working conditions for textile workers. In fact, all the way back to Europe in the like 1840s, 1850s, into the countries of Southeast Asia today. And those workers have suffered quite a bit during COVID, as you might guess. But there's kind of a worldwide movement to help out there, and there have been some successes.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I think that that's about it. The show will be up in Saugerties, New York. Charming little town. It's a, if you're in the city, it's a great day trip. Hour and a half, 90 minutes, just right up the thruway. We're exit 20, right off the thruway. While you're here, there's a lot you can see. First, make a stop at the gallery. It's right in the heart of the village of Saugerties. Cute little town there, and it's a really growing art community. There's another gallery in town, 11 Jane Street. We have a arts commission now that the town is supporting. We do an annual open studio tour, which just happened about 2 weeks ago, which is the best in the area in the Hudson Valley. 45 artists open up their home studios to the public for a weekend. And while you're here, be sure to visit Opus 40, which is sort of the Stonehenge of North America, the Hudson Valley. It was a bluestone quarry that an artist turned into, spent about 39 years just traditionally putting the stones together without any kind of adhesive, and created these monuments and sculptural pieces. Really stunning. It took him 39 years and then he passed away. But he left a big legacy. You got Woodstock right down the road. You have Kingston right down the road. So come on up for Golden Desire and stay for everything else. So we have a great garlic festival the first weekend in October. So when you come up to the garlic festival, stop here first. Or go to the garlic festival early and pick me up a pint of garlic chowder that the Boy Scouts make, because it's really good. And then come see Golden Desire.
Oh, that sounds fun. And the show's up until October 10th.
October 10th, yes. So you have a full month, pretty much a full month. And again, you can view the work directly on Artsy if you're not able to make it to the gallery. Spend a little time on Artsy looking at the work. There you can find previous shows that have happened at Emerge Gallery, a lot of group shows. Spend a little time looking at some art. We've got a real creative community up here, and I'm so proud to represent a number of artists. And I'm really pleased that Lesley and Jay came to me with this idea, because this is something a bit of a departure for me. But I love taking chances, and I really thought that what Lesley and Jay put together here was something really dynamic, the kind of show that you walk in and it's like, oh wow, look at that. And I have been getting that, and that's the kind of show that I like to see. And I'm really pleased to be putting one on here at the gallery. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Jay and Lesley. This will be archived on YouTube. So yeah, have a look, tell your friends about it, and come visit us soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Lesley.
Robert, thank you.
Happy Labor Day, everyone. And it's perfect, Jay, that this was happening on Labor Day weekend.
All right.
Thank you.